Hub launches the first annual Youth Day event, with this year's theme being Young, Gifted and Innovative Minds. It is therefore fitting that we meet here today to celebrate this historical day in our calendar. The day reminds us of the courage, determination and sacrifice demonstrated by young men and women of our country in fighting against apartheid. With courage and enthusiasm to eradicate the demon of oppression in our society, the youth of our country intensified the struggle of emancipation and contributed to the creation of an equal and just society.
Good morning, guys. So, first, let me just say to the team here at the Innovation Hub, thank you very much for having invited me. I know it took quite a bit to get me here, and I'm doing increasingly less work here at home, so anytime I get the privilege to speak in our beautiful country, I'm always blessed and honored. Nyabo, honestly, thank you very much for having had me here. The hardest way to make money and the hardest way to build wealth is entrepreneurship. I don't want to sit here and lie to you. The hardest way to make money and the hardest way to build wealth is entrepreneurship. However, the most rewarding way to build wealth is entrepreneurship. So what you sacrifice when you become an entrepreneur is what you gain in the satisfaction of being an entrepreneur. Let me just say this here, because for some other strange reason I'm misconstrued. There is no firmer a supporter of black economic empowerment than VUSI THEMBEKWAYO. I'm a beneficiary of it. Okay? I was accelerated through corporate because of employment equity. I went to a Model C school because the corporate that paid for me to go had to spend CSI funds. You get it? Nedbank didn't put me through school because they were nice. They did it because the law said you have to spend a certain amount of your money in CSI. If corporates wanted to do good, they would spend 5%, not 3%. They would spend above and beyond what the law says, not what the law prescribes. So don't be fooled when corporates say to you, we do good. That's rubbish. They do what the law says they should do. So this process of black economic empowerment, at the back of it, there were people who carried the right cause of political organization. Those people had access overnight to 26% of companies that were built over centuries. So, you have to get 26% of a company, but you didn't have money. Let's imagine the company was worth R1 billion net asset value. You didn't have 260 million rand. Remember, you'd spent much of your life in the bush fighting for liberation. You didn't have a pension. You understand? You didn't have medical aid. So where were you going to get 260 million to buy shares? So what happened there is many of these people went to large corporates, specifically banks, and raised money. This is what, by the way, I used to do. This money was called leverage. In effect, they leveraged the balance sheets, it's like debt, of the big companies to buy shares into those companies. To pay back that money, the company had to make a certain amount of profits, and from those profits declare a certain amount of dividends, so they could take the dividends flow and pay back the ownership. Now listen to why I'm telling you this. The white company selling 26% of its shares doesn't give the shares to the black shareholder until he's paid for the 26%. The black shareholder can't pay for the 26% until the white company pays dividends for him to pay his 26%. So the rate at which the transfer of ownership goes from the black shareholder or from the white company to the black shareholder is determined by the white company, not the black shareholder. Then adjust to the fact that this money wasn't given free. It has attached cost of capital, interest to it. So you borrow R1 billion, you have to pay back 1.4. These are the laws of finance, let's say. But here is perhaps the trickiest part of this whole thing. The white company overnight gets access to government tenders because it says, I am now black. So let's just study this. You have black shareholders who don't have actual ownership of the business. A white company that determines the rate at which the black shareholder can own the business. but the white company immediately benefits from government tenders. So the reason we haven't created high-growth, scalable black entrepreneurs is because there was no space for them to occupy or play into. Because the very same white companies simply transformed themselves at a superficial level, but kept benefiting from government tenders. Why am I telling you all this? Because my view, and this is my view, is we need a different conversation around the true emancipation of black youth specifically. The conversation has to change. We cannot talk about it the way we've been talking about it. And we certainly cannot use the instruments we've used that have brought us to where we are today. I see some young people here today in school uniform. So let me tell you the numbers. Stats SA tells us that a young black African person, that is predominantly most of you in this room, between the ages of 18 and 35, has a probability of 18% of getting formal employment. 1-8. A young white person between the ages of 18 and 35 has a probability rate of 52% of getting formal employment. I'm not a genius, but you need to explain to me why 24 years into our political liberation, the people for whom the liberation was intended have yet to benefit. Why hasn't it trickled down? Today we're in a technical recession. By the way, our firm, so the firm I've just sold is a research and advisory business, and adjoined to it we've got a private equity business. But our firm predicted this technical recession a year ago. They said I was lying. I was on Bruce Whitfield's show. I said to him that exactly June next year, South Africa will go into a technical recession. He said to me that, I believe the word he used was, don't be overly pessimistic. A year before that, I was speaking at a conference in Durban, and I said then that the South African economy will not grow beyond 0.2%. I was told, don't be overly pessimistic. What happened? We went into 0.1%. The population CAGR in South Africa is 2.1%. Every year, the population grows at a compounded rate of 2.1%. The unemployment rate, narrow definition, 26%. Broad definition, close on 40%. A young black person who goes to a township school can graduate today, with a matric and take maths literacy and get a 33% and they'll pass. For those of you who don't know, read the numbers from Umalusi. A 33% pass in maths and literacy is equal to a 40% maths standard grade pass. In my day, grade 9, standard 7. So for the people who are my age, that means this young person has barely understood the theory of Pythagoras. They're not doing trigonometry yet. They're not forming complex algebraic equations. Right. So let's put this in perspective. You have, with respect, an education system that is not preparing young people for the real world of commerce. A globe that is moving and revolutionizing itself. A local economy that is not growing. And incomes distribution that are not being distributed. This is why the real revolution for entrepreneurship is now. We don't need more of us standing in the streets holding placards. We need more of us writing business plans, registering companies at SIPs, getting our own patents going, owning our knowledge, and building what we own. That's the revolution. For entrepreneurs, you have to go through suffering. If you want to shortcut the suffering, you can't call yourself an entrepreneur. If for no other reason but for this, and remember this, when you become an entrepreneur, your single most important skill, our most important skill, it's not my ability to get up and speak to people, it's not my ability to walk into any boardroom, by the way, and network with people, it's not my ability to build relationships, to get business cards, it's not even my ability to convince people to buy things they don't need. My single most important skill is my ability to go through the tough times unscathed. And it's because I've built that internal equity. When it's tough, I'm cool, I'm chilling, you won't tell. So when are you going through the tough times? that why your shirt is tied? No tie, right? I get it. Right. Just be careful when you become an entrepreneur. Be careful what you value. Because what you value will dictate how you behave. There's the life you see, and there's the sacrifice behind that life. It is tough. If you can delay benefits to yourself, always try and delay it. Always try and delay it. In other words, if you don't have to have it now, don't buy it. Wait for tomorrow. But always have a vice and always know what that vice is. A vice is something that you can't control. You have to have it. My vice is tech. Anything that has to do with technology. Even at the office they know, if I don't need it, I'm going to buy it. That's just me. The last point I want to make is simply this. When you make a decision that you want to be an entrepreneur, always ask yourself what kind of entrepreneur you want to be. Because there are different types of entrepreneurs, by the way. One of the things that is exciting to me about the people in this room is I think most of you have the potential to be the kind of entrepreneur we need. When you're an entrepreneur, guys, if there is one thing you need to know backwards, it's your numbers. Numbers are everything. And remember, turnover, yeah? You gotta know turnover, you have to know gross margin, you have to know net margins, and you have to know the capital flow dividends at the bottom end. Have to know it. I'll tell you why. Turnover tells me the size of opportunity in your business. Gross margin tells me whether or not this business is worth being in the first place. Do you know how you create wealth? You pick an industry, you pick a sector, you pick a line of specialization, and you do that thing. That's what you do. Up cycle, down cycle, boom time, recession time, that's what you do. Somizi is a dancer. That's what he does. Boom, recession, he's Somizi, he's gay, he's dancing. Do you get it? When I say Somizi, what do you think? Dancing. You don't think now Somizi now is a mechanic. He's a dancer.
I'm from Soweto, and I'm around a lot of survival entrepreneurs, and that is what we have, right? And obviously we don't have that much support coming in from outside to bring up the business of the black man in the township type of thing. However, the Pakistanis, the Indians, especially for like Mayfair and places like that, those guys don't want employment and they don't struggle with business either. What is it that they do that we should be doing as well? And because they don't rely on outside sources for them to be strong. Yeah, thank you.
Pakistanis understand two thresholds of success in retail. The first is, he who buys the largest determines the price. Make sense? The second is, if they pull together, they can do this thing called cherry picking. Cherry picking is a fancy retail term. Any time of day, my mom used to do this, you should buy like the Daily Sun of the Sowetan, and somewhere in the Sowetan you get a leaflet from a retailer saying, we're selling milk for this price, cooking oil for this price. You've seen that, right? Yeah, those are things that the retailers call loss leaders. So the retailer will buy this from the supplier at 1 rand and sell it to you at 90 cents. Why would they sell it at a loss? Because when you come and buy water, you're also going to buy Coke, you're going to buy cooked baked beans, you're going to buy bread, you're going to buy maize meal, you're going to buy cooking oil. They make the money on the other things, they lose money on this. It's called a loss leader. They'll sell it to you at a loss because it brings you into the shop. Yes? So here's what Pakistanis do. These guys are really smart. They go through all of these leaflets and they check all the suppliers who are selling the stuff at loss leader prices. Then they go to that supplier and they buy just that item. Yeah? It's called cherry picking. They pick just the cherry. So they'll go just to CBW and buy cooking oil. They go to Jumbo Cash and Carry and they'll buy maize meal. They go to Africa Cash and Carry and they buy pilchards. Just that. So when it gets to the township, you bought it at 1 rand 50, he bought it at 90 cents. The second thing he does is because he's buying them at a high quantity, he's even able to get it at a price better than the one you were able to get it at. Why? Simple thing, they collaborate. They just work together. They just collaborate. They work together. Guys, I spent 7 years of my life in retail, so I'm talking from a point of fact. I can tell you. All they do is, I've seen these guys, but give it a venine one. Bahamba bonke. Mababuye, omunye store le, omunye, but bahamba ngevene wonke. See, it's kind of, so I think that answers the question around the public studies.
Thank you very